How's it going? This is Grudge. This is the Grudge Report. Doing this first video on whether or not this new Guardian expansion has actually pretty much killed PvP. So I've been gearing up this archer to be kind of a PvE slash PvP. It's hard to gear up somebody for this new Stormcry gear because it's quite a bit of grinding, and so I use multiple tunes to actually grind gear for this one guy. So in any case, basically gonna queue up for Freywind, which is the most popular battleground, and see how long it takes. In the meantime, I'm gonna grab some BAMs.
An auspicious meeting.
Because that's something that I could always do. And it doesn't take you out of your queue. Let's see who's on from guild. Wow, lots of people on tonight. That's cool. Alright, so let's grab some Isle of BAM stuff. Why not? Yeah, so one of the things I've noticed about the Freywind and Corsairs is as I've come on and off of this game, it's changed several times, and where it's now kind of gear balanced in both Frey and Corsairs. Corsairs more than Frey, and which is good and bad. I mean, obviously, if you're gearing up and you have great gear, you want to make sure that you can take advantage of it in your settings and your glyphs, or not your glyphs are your crystals and your etchings, etc. Well, when you are gear balanced, that doesn't happen, and I think that's one of the good and bad things about. I want to change channels here because there's a lot of people doing these BAMs. Don't want to get in anybody's way, or vice versa. So one of the things that I notice is that you know, the gear balancing actually has brought a lot more people to originally brought a lot more people to the battlegrounds, but there was still obviously an imbalance for those especially in Frey, those people who were geared up above, or I think it was 448 in basically in full Stormcry. Pretty much impossible to kill. Definitely not one-on-one. And I honestly suck at one-on-ones, and I played the archer because it's more situational and I can kind of stay range, and I like having fun with it because I can target. I think my ping rate hurts me quite a bit because I shoot at things that aren't there, so it's it's actually a little bit tough. I have to lower my settings quite a bit just to kind of get things moving, even though I got a pretty good setup. For some reason this game is not very well optimized. That's, you know, a lot of people have talked about that. I'm not going to talk about that here today, but a lot of people have talked about that. And I guess you could find videos on that, and why it's not optimized, I don't know. And honestly, I'm sure people have figured out ways of getting around that, but I haven't, and I'm not going to spend the time to do that. Like I say, I bounce in and out of this game. I actually like the game. Combat is actually much better than what I used to play World of Warcraft, which I was never a gamer. My brother got me into it, and when we started playing a long time ago, this game came out. I don't know why I just did that. Yeah, so we started playing quite a bit, and then I got the bug a little bit. Oh man, this is some major suck. I don't know what's going on. Wow, that's horrible. I think I got the wrong gear set. I think I got my PvP gear set up. anyway, so again, started getting into the gaming, and I absolutely hated World of Warcraft because of targeting. I played a feral druid, which was probably like the worst class, but somehow my brother and his friend talked me into playing the game, and what ended up happening was we were going to run as a feral druid, a boomkin, and a resto druid. Feral druid can do DPS and tank. The boomkin is pretty much DPS and crowd control and or other utilities, and then the resto druid is, you know, obviously a healer. And that was the idea. It didn't take long before my brother changed and went to a hunter, and the other guy kind of dropped out altogether, or he played some other class, and which was good and bad in that you know, it made our balance a little bit better, but it actually made it kind of broke up the idea of what we were going to do, which was to be able to have a tank, healer, and DPS, so we could queue up for dungeons pretty quick. I had a very similar queue system for dungeons. Anyways, I didn't like that hunters and range classes could basically target you from a million miles away, and you could basically line of sight them. Like here, if I get targeted, you know, and I come around here, I'm not going to get hit. But in old WoW anyways, you could actually, as an archer, if you tab locked somebody, you could shoot somebody around the corner, which is kind of fucking stupid. So this game appealed to me because of the combat mechanics. And so that's why I started playing it, and then I was kind of on and off the game for, I don't know, a couple years anyways, since the beta version came out. And yeah, so like I said, I've come back and forth on the game, and oh, what the hell am I doing? And the one thing that I noticed about the game was that the PvP content was the hardest to be proficient at. And it's basically because, what the fuck is it? It's basically because it was so gear biased. You had to have really sick gear, and you had to know how to play, of course, but if you didn't have good gear, you didn't really last long. You weren't going to get a lot of experience on how to play. And so, you know, conversely, you had to constantly be dueling people, and that wasn't always easy. So, to you know, you're constantly having to pick duels. So, anyways, but I enjoyed it. PvP was awesome. Corsairs was fun. Freywin was fun. And then they balanced Freywin, so I was kind of happy to see that, even though I was still getting my ass handed to me. But in Corsairs, I was having a great time, because archers in this game, anyways, you're kind of you know, you're just sniping people that are stun locked by either lancers or warriors or slayers. I don't know. There's so many classes that can stun. Even archers can stun, but not from a melee perspective, and not as effectively. I mean, I'm not very effective at it. So then this guardian thing came in, which in one aspect is fantastic because it's a PvE kind of server-based quest that everybody can do. And here, I'll actually do one right now. You basically do a small quest to get access to doing this, and then you go in to multiple sort of battles, and you get these loot boxes, and you get up to 40 a day, and these loot boxes basically contain rubies and sapphires. I don't know if they contain emeralds or diamonds. I've never gotten one, but in any case, that's the idea. And Oh, fuck me. No wonder shit's hitting the fan. I didn't even have any crystals on, and I didn't even have the right gear set on, and at least my glyphs are set up correctly. So yeah, here's one of the battles. You kind of start off with a lobby type of situation where you're killing a couple of mid-level monsters or whatever, and it's depending on the number of players, your damage either increases or decreases. So if you have a lot of players, then you effectively start doing less damage because there's more distribution, and I think it's up to 15. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. But the loot is so much better than in 8 minutes you can get 3-4 boxes depending on how much DPS you do, and it's so much better than queuing up for, I don't know, 20 minutes or more and trying to actually, I don't know what I'm doing here, I'm just kind of going through regular progressions or whatever. And so for the amount of time, if you want to gear up a character or multiple characters, then there isn't a really more efficient way of doing it than doing Guardian. It doesn't have a lot of gold per se, but it has a lot of, well, it could be gold if you sell them, but the mats that you use in order to get your Stormcry and your Frost leveled up is gems. So you end up doing this for an hour, 2 hours every night, and then going through the lobby type of dungeons. And when you go through those dungeons, you then you get your experience, or your gold and your Vanguard points and all that good stuff. So
Enrage.
Oh mother, I hate when I do that. I don't know why I did that. This guy just keeps turning around all the time. Anyways, I don't want to spend too much time doing Guardian, because I'll do it later when there's more people on or whatever. But the point was that what I'm trying to demonstrate is that this is the quest, and it's pretty basic. You just kind of shoot stuff, and I don't know why I did that.
Enrage is ending.
Alright, I love that effect where you get thrown in the air like that. It's pretty fun. You can see the Guardian points are coming up to whatever, 10,000. When you get 100,000 or 99,000, when you get 100,000, then you get a box, and it just keeps resetting over and over. So this is what everybody's doing now. And if you think that you're going to do a battleground, you're sadly mistaken, because you're going to basically stay here for a good amount of time doing this. And I don't blame people, because if you're not in a, let me see, what are we matching now for? 17 minutes. If you're not actually queuing up, queue syncing with a bunch of gear heavy players, then what ends up happening is you
Enrage is ending.
kind of get on that losing team. And anybody been in Freywit or Corsairs on the losing team, it just sucks, man. You just basically get zerged into oblivion no matter what, and you're just basically running around from 8 to 20 minutes depending on what which one it is, and you just sit there and lose. And I've actually not done horribly. I've been in like a 50% win-loss with respect to the battlegrounds, Freywin and Corsairs, so it's not horrible. There was a period of time where I probably went 20 times without ever winning, and I was just getting so frustrated. It was kind of driving me to want to get the better gear, honestly. But I wasn't going to buy my way up to that gear, and that's what a lot of people do. They kind of, there's
Rage is ending.
pay to play kind of situation, so you don't have to. But oh, I just ran right through that. Yeah, if you don't actually have a lot of gold, or generate a lot of gold through means other than within the game, that's to say you're
Enrage.
buying EMP, which for those of you that don't play the game, EMP is effectively the TERA coins, if you will, that are used to, oh man, these DPSs were awful because I was 6 there, and you could see how horribly I did that. So I don't know what I got there, 3 or 4 boxes and a quest. So yeah, so that's gonna, I'll open up a couple boxes and you'll see what you get here. So I just got 2 boxes actually. Ruby ×3 and an emerald. Jesus, I should say I'm not getting emeralds more frequently, because I just got an emerald, which is pretty damn good, man. An emerald is effectively 1,000 gold, or on the trade broker like 1,300 gold. And if you have the schema or the designs or the alchemy formulas to make them, and if you're making them from scratch, they're probably around the order of $1,400. I mean, 1,400 gold to make. So it's very inefficient way of making money if you try to craft them. So zoom out, you can see the next one starts here. There's 2 or 3 going on. These green ones are actually lower. Anyways, so there, I just made an emerald. When you go into the battlegrounds, you're going to get some pretty good mats. Every once in a while, when it's depending on what battleground day it is, you're going to get
Enrage.
some loot prizes. But for the most part, it's going to suck. You know, you're affected. Whoa, I just had a serious lag there. So, my opinion is that the reason why
Enrage.
PvP Battlegrounds has kind of died so much is incentive. And I'm not saying that Guardian's a bad thing, because it's great for gearing up. But you kind of lose the incentive to actually do Frey or Corsairs or any other. I never did Kuma's. I don't know why it's in the game, but people love it. I don't. I hate it.
Enrage is
Point
ending.
is that there's no incentive to actually do the
Enrage is
battlegrounds
ending.
if you're not like super heavily geared. If you're trying to gear up, it's not the best way to get there. Oh, I'm gonna get my ass kicked, which I just did. At least I didn't die, but I'm gonna die here in a second, which is okay, because it kind of resets your health and everything. Yeah, so I personally think that Guardian kind of killed it for temporarily anyways. So if TERA or En Masse wants to bring back PvP, which I don't know if they have any interest to do that at all, I think you gotta give more incentive. And by that I mean, even if there I go, nice spin and kill. So even if you lose, you should get something based on your participation, not like based on the level of play, which is to say, oh shit, he just died. Anyways, which is to say, you were active in the engagement, and that can be obviously monitored many different ways. So you should get something. Yeah, maybe you get a third of what you get if you win, but you should have gotten some. I think in the olden times, if you will, you did get some points if you lost, and you got points if you won. But that's not what's happening now. What's happening now is you basically, it's all or nothing, and that's good. If you're winning, you're freaking psyched. But I mean, even if you're winning, and you get a lot of points and a lot of gear, and you win the gems or whatever, then great. And what do you care if the loser gets something too? You don't. So for me, that would be incentive to be able for more people to play and do the PvP grind instead of the PvE grind, which, to be honest with you, is for me is a little bit boring because it's super repetitive. And once you know the mechanics, then you know the mechanics, and you learn it, and you do it like 50 times, and sure, you get gear and all that good stuff, but it's very repetitive. So PvP for me is where the fun is, and I suck at it, but I still have a great time at it. And eventually I'll get good at it. But because the wait time are so long, and Freywin, I don't know if it's Freywin night or probably isn't, but we're at 20 minutes now, and the estimated waiting time forever has been 2 minutes and 52 seconds. So it's always been bullshit. So I'm at 20 minutes now. 20 minutes for an 8-minute battleground, and if I continue to wait, which I will, it'll probably on the order of an hour sometimes or more. So PvP is dead, at least in the US servers, because it goes across the servers, and bummed out. So I don't know what other people think, but for me, I think Guardian somewhat killed PvP, and I don't blame people for doing Guardian and not doing PvP, because for the same amount of time that I'm going to be waiting, I could do 10 or 5 or 6 Guardian events, get 10, 12 boxes, and then ultimately make a lot more gold if I wanted to trade it in for gold. And if I just wanted to use it for mats, I get a lot more mats. And that's the problem. Well, that's not the problem. That's a good thing about it. But that's why PvP, in my opinion, has died quite a bit. No incentive to do it. So those people that loved PvP are stuck basically going out to the outskirts and setting up individual duels and stuff. But yeah, the battlegrounds seem to be dead. Maybe PvP's not dead, but the battlegrounds are dead. And that's it.